and watch it for yourself. So you can take notes, but also I will resend the link so you can watch it at your leisure. All right. We'll go about 1 more minute. 1 more minute. Got people coming in. Cool. Appreciate it. I'm going to be muting everybody's phones when I get started, just so that we don't have any feedback and everybody can hear. So just hold tight with all that. And if you want to, in the chat there, and you can see in the dashboard, there's a chat link. If you have questions, I'm going to have a Q&A in the end. If you have any questions, please put them there. I'm going to go ahead and start muting so that we don't have any feedback. Okay. Now, again, please keep all your phones muted. What I'm going to do is there's a chat there. If you got any questions or concerns, I can hit those at the end. Just type them in there so they're ready to go in the queue when we're done. Yeah, again, I'll be keeping everybody's phones muted just so, you know, there's no feedback crossover. All right. In the meantime, feel free to use the chat to, you know, let me know where you're calling from. I only got one person that chimed in and said they're from Philly. Whatever state y'all hailing from. I'm out of Brooklyn, New York. Let me know where y'all living at, and you know, we can get started. All right. Okay. Thank you for chiming in, everybody. Again, you could be doing other things, and I really appreciate you taking out your time to let me spit for about an hour. All right. Okay. Brooklyn by way of Texas. Okay, Johnny. Oh, what up, John? What's up, bro? Okay. Yeah. All right. So, I'm going to go ahead and DC, okay, DC's in the house, okay. That's what's up. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing started. So I just want to be sure that you guys all see the PowerPoint behind me. If you don't see the PowerPoint of the guy with his mouth open, salivating, talking about where you repping, put that in the chat so I know for sure, but I'm pretty sure everybody sees it. And actually, can someone at least just say they do see it so I know for sure you do see the PowerPoint behind me? Okay, cool. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get started then, okay? Again, any questions, concerns, you know, you can put it in the chat. There's a Q&A portion in your dashboard, and you can just type it in there so when we're done, you can go ahead, I can go ahead and have them already in the queue and start answering as best as I can. All right, so yeah, just to get started, again, thank you for coming, chiming in this evening. You know, we could be doing a whole bunch of stuff, like probably trying to see if there's any food out there left to get, you know, because obviously things are getting kind of crazy. But I do appreciate you taking an interest in what I want to speak with you all about tonight. This is not a gimmick. I'm not trying to capitalize on the situation. This is something that I think that we should already be doing. And with all of the hoopla that's happening and the paranoia that's happening, our focus is being shifted into a different direction while some other things are happening. And if we don't realize that, we're going to be on the other end of the stick where we get screwed as we always have been. So I wanted to talk tonight about it and address it while it's still starting to get out. And, you know, there's school closing is coming out now. And so we're still getting, you know, information now where things are going to be shut down. We have no idea how long it's going to be. But regardless, I am operating in a manner that I think we're going to come out of this. You know, life goes on. We're going to fight through this. And I'm trying to see how I can protect what I do have at this point, mainly our finances moving forward. Okay, so let me just go into it. You know, you might have been one of these folks, or you probably definitely know some people that's going through this. You know, you never can feel like you have enough. You know what I'm saying? People are panicking about what they need to get, what they need to buy. And to be honest, they don't even know what they're buying. I mean, like, the funny thing to me is like how there's this shortage of toilet paper. You know what I mean? Like as though everybody's going to be using the bathroom that much during these next couple of weeks. And when I started really thinking about it, I said, oh, I get it now that, you know, toilet paper is also a form of currency in the prison system. So it kind of let me kind of see that, you know, we also have, even if we've never been to prison, we're kind of prisoners of this society, of this system. And so we don't really understand what's going on. So we're kind of like the sheep. You know, if one sheep turns left and another one goes with it, then the whole herd follows. So someone came up with the notion that buying toilet paper was a thing to do. And now you can't get anything anywhere. Understanding in the prison system, you know, you could use toilet paper, you could use it as currency. You know, you could buy things with toilet paper. I understand that. But we're not in a prison, so to speak, And, you know, it kind of baffles me that it got to the point where you can see where my cursor is. Some people are willing to even get to fisticuffs over the last roll, and we've seen, you know, the aisles being empty. People are purchasing, instead of perishables and things of that nature, they're more concerned about having toilet paper. And it is just, again, it's just a panic because because we see one person do it, then we think, oh, I better do it too. And that's the problem, is that we don't stop and take stock into what's happening and actually have a plan. More importantly, we don't have a plan before things even happen. We don't think about winter that's coming. And I'm going to be speaking about that in a little bit. And it's not to say this is about a Debbie Downer type of talk. It really isn't. It's just about preparation, and it's about, you know, whether you're going to be prepared preventively, or you're going to be getting prepared after things has already happened and there's this scam or this hype, all this fervor about people being scared and this paranoia. And it reminds me of your Y2K. So this is what, for me, I'm going back to the year Y2K. If you guys remember, 20 years ago, we had Y2K, where there was the notion that the computers were going to mess up everything and shut everything down, and we were going to be like basically in a blackout for the duration of for an unknown amount of time. So, you know, we're kind of in that same kind of space because we have no idea about what the coronavirus is, what it does, who can catch it, who can't, or how sick, is it fatal, things of that nature. We still are trying to figure these things out. Then you have the government wanting to come up with the inoculations and all that kind of stuff. So there's closings now. You can't go to restaurants, and, you know, you're going to be quarantined. So my thought is, you know, with all of that sort of, things that's happening as far as, there's going to be a closing and the militia is going to basically trying to take over and shut everything down. What should I be doing? What should I be working on? And it got me to thinking about, well, what are the people that have a lot of money? What are they doing? You know, because obviously the first thing they're thinking about is not toilet paper. They're thinking about, you know, my finances and where is it? Where can I put it? Where do I need to pull it out? Or things of that nature. And we're not thinking any of that. And instead, you know, we're not realizing that amidst all of this that's happening, we've talked about, and you might be familiar with recessions. We had a recession in just over 12 years ago. And I've been talking about financial literacy for a good year and a half, and kind of knew even back then, even 3 years back, that, you know, recessions are now, they're cyclical. So they happen every decade or so, like every decade to 12 years. And so I'm finding out that, you know, we're kind of spot on about this recession. It's just that this time, the recession we find doesn't have to be because of some housing crisis. It could be something that deals with pandemonium. It could be a virus, as what we're dealing with right now. And we've seen it this past week. We've seen the Dow Jones drop twice, 1,000 points on, I think, Monday or Tuesday, and then it was, I think, Thursday that it dropped 2,350 points. So, you know, we're noticing that this will have a global effect, and that has a global effect on your money. And so in one respect, people are talking about, what can I do to protect myself as far as, you know, getting food and being able to take care of my daily livings. But at the same time, what are you doing to protect your money? Because it has the likings of a recession. And even if it isn't a full recession, some people already lost a lot of money. You know what I mean? Because if you see the points drop that quickly, I mean, it did come up the next day, but we're starting to see this volatility become very rampant. So, you know, it could get to a point where we might be in the same situation where people lost tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars 10 years ago, and now we're 10 years older. So we're not as young as we used to be. That means we don't have as many years in the labor force. So we can't, you know, automatically think it's easy. I'll make that money back even though I lost it. Job is the layoffs of jobs is happening at a higher rate. The quality of jobs are going lower. The amount of hours that we're working and the benefits are lower. And we got to also figure out, deal with the fact that we're going to have to deal with the invention of AI, automation. We have all of these new computer systems that are taking over human jobs. So our ability to earn money is really going to be in question over the next 10 to 15 years. And if you're like me, a 70s baby, I'm not retired yet, but I'm getting close to that age. So even if I was in my 60s, you know, you get to the point where you will reach what's called corporate ageism, where you're just going to be too old to receive the type of job that you deserve based on your skills and tenure. You'll be too expensive. So they're going to find someone younger and cheaper. So you might end up doing a lesser job like a Walmart greeter. And there's only just so many of those, right? So we have to think about strategically our retirement savings. This is what I'm really focusing on, is where is our money during, what happens during a crisis? What can we do to protect that money? Because there are people that have been able to protect their money. Think about it. How is it the royal family, despite recessions, still have all this money? Why is it the Rockefellers are still rich despite recessions and market crashes? Warren Buffett still has all this money despite whatever happens in the market. It's because they're doing something that we're not. And that's what I really want to focus on. It's not so much that it's because they're white and they're powerful. It's because they have information and access to do it. And that's what I want to talk about tonight, is to talk about how we can do things to put us in a position where we can not only maintain what we have, but also grow it to be to the point of being intergenerational 70 years down the road. Okay. So again, talking about just all the hype and everything, you know, this is the perfect time, I think, for all these conspiracy theories to come out. And I can't really say that I wasn't one. You know, I wrote about a lot of things. If you're familiar with me, I've been writing about African history for 27 years. And I've written about my share of things that are happening in the government. And a lot of that stuff is valid. But at the same time, a lot of it is also noise right now, because really, you know, we're getting so caught up into what's happening that we're not focusing on what we really should be focusing on. And that is, what are we going to do to persevere? What are we going to do outside of, you know, having food, clothing, and shelter? The money that we're putting into the system to be there for when we retire, what happens when that money's gone? And why is it that America does such a great job of not showing the senior citizen sector and how their lifestyle is? All we see is them in their golden years walking down the park, but we don't see that they're really going through a lot of financial problems, because the money they put into what used to be pensions and now 401ks, that money is not what it's supposed to be. It's not the amount that they thought it was going to be. And if you have your money in any of these type of money markets, be it IRAs, 401ks, the stock market, things of that nature, the money that you think you're going to have, and most people don't even know what that number is, that number is not going to be the number you think it is. And how are you going to live the rest of your life, especially when you reach the point of corporate ageism where you can't be employed because you're just too old? All right? So we don't want to get caught up into what the government's doing, what Trump ain't doing, and you know, the inoculations and all this other stuff. That's not this talk. There's a bunch of other people doing it and talking about it. I don't really want to focus on that right now. I think what I want to focus on is how can I protect what I have, so I'm in a position that if I need to be out, I can finance, you know, me and my family, our survival, and if it has to be out of this country or anywhere else. It's not so much about leaving, but it's just about having something there that's supposed to be there when you need it most, because, you know, money is what it all comes down to. Either you have it or you don't have it. Okay? So I want to start asking you guys this. You know, we are familiar with this analogy, this fable rather, of the ant and the grasshopper, and you know, the whole preface of this whole thing is preparation. We know the story of the ant spending the summer, you know, gathering food the entire summer, every day, working hard from sun up to sundown, gathering food and taking it to his house and storing it. And the grasshopper, on the other hand, was sitting there and like, hey, it's the summertime. Why are you working so hard? We should be out here chilling, enjoy yourself, live life, blah, blah, blah. You can do that later. And the ant's like, nah, winter's coming. And the grasshopper's like, yeah, I know, but I'll get to it later. I'll get to it later. And later became a week later, became a month later, became 3 months later. Next thing you know, it's winter. And the grasshopper, having not prepared anything for his winter, had nothing, and actually ended up knocking on the ant's door to hope that the ant would help him. Now, in the story, the ant helped him. But in real life, that ant ain't going to help you. And we shouldn't think that that ant is. We need to be prepared just in case, and the ant in this case would be the government. I'll just say that as one example. Also, the ant could be a loved one that we thought loved us, you know. But if you don't prepare yourself, if you don't prepare for winter, then when it comes, you really can't blame anybody. So, again, our focus is on this paranoia instead of thinking about how am I taking care of my funds, because people have lost money this week alone because of the market. And that money may not come back. And if it doesn't come back and you're still putting money in and hoping it's going to happen again, what if we have a full-out recession? Well, if you recall the last recession, the senior citizen age sector, that's, well, they went from 54 to 65 and plus. That age bracket lost $2.7 trillion in their savings that they put into the market, into the 401k system. $2.7 trillion. So imagine you're in a case where you're 65 plus, you've done your years of service working hard, you put your money invested in something that you thought that nest egg was going to be there, and then a recession comes along and you lose all of this money and the government doesn't even apologize about it, much less going to reimburse you, right? I don't know about you, but I lost the last recession, $250,000 nearly in my 401k. And being I was in my 30s, I thought, I was mad. I thought this was a fluke. I thought it was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Wasn't aware at the time that recessions are cyclical. So in understanding that, I figured, okay, I'll get out of it. I'll work through it, and I'll get my money back. I just have to double up on my contributions now. The reality is that these things happen on a cyclical basis. If it's good on the Western Hemisphere, it's bad on the Eastern Hemisphere, and we're starting to see this shifting over now to the Western Hemisphere where things are starting to go negative. And this is going to impact your nest egg. The money you've been putting away for years to be there for when you retire is in jeopardy. And this is what this is all about. So I want to play this video clip. It's a short video clip. It's just 3 minutes, but it talks about the 401k that happened during 2008. This is on 60 Minutes.
The effects of the current economic crisis.
And a paid-up mortgage, chances are your monthly 401k statement will remind you that you've lost a good chunk of your savings. Trillions of dollars have evaporated from those accounts that have become the prime source of retirement funds for a majority of American workers, affecting their psyche and their future. If you're still young enough, there's time to rebuild and recover. But if you're in your 50s or 60s or beyond, the consequences can be dire. And it's drawing attention to the shortcomings of a retirement system that's jeopardized the financial security of tens of millions of people. It was a gray, chilly morning in Midtown Manhattan, and a line of unemployed, mostly white-collar workers stretched for blocks around the Radisson Hotel. More than 1,000 middle managers, stockbrokers, consultants, secretaries, and receptionists had come here hoping to find a job.
If you are just arriving, please step this way.
It was called a career fair, but there was no merriment here, only a whiff of desperation.
Do you have any openings in the IT?
Many of these people had been out of work for months and burned through their liquid assets, their future even bleaker than the present. Alan Weir, who turned 60 this month, showed us his latest 401k statement, which he hadn't had the courage to open up.
I'm afraid. You're going to open it now? You want me to? Let's do it.
There's good reason for his trepidation. Nearly half of his life savings have vanished in a matter of months.
You went down again. How much are you down overall? About $140,000. Do you think you'll ever get it back? I would probably never see it come back. I was looking to retire probably when I hit 62. Can't do it now. I'll probably be working until I'm at least 70. I'm a Microsoft Office user.
Until she lost her job, Kathleen Coleman had spent nearly 30 years working as an executive assistant on Wall Street. She doesn't have much to show for it.
Tell me about your 401k.
Does this answer the question?
This is what it was in 2005. 2007, you're down below 2005.
Right. Another one went down almost $40,000. One was 88,000, and then it went down to like 50.
How old are you?
54, and I live alone. I don't have any children. I've been a career girl all my life, and it's been a great career, and I don't deserve this. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Have you had any nibbles?
All the nibbles.
That was just to give you, this is actually, I can send you guys the link. I can share it with you, the link on, so you can watch this in full. It's 13 minutes on YouTube. I found it as CBS 60 Minutes, but it talked about what happened in 2008. So this is 10, 12 years ago, and how the recession had continuously still, people were losing money every quarter, every month probably, and you saw like not just 5,000 or a couple thousand, we're talking about 60, 80,000, $100,000, and in a short period of time, and again, not replenished. So you're talking about people like us who worked and continue to work every day, putting away a side of money to be there for when we retire. And that's the thing. That's where the catch is, because we're putting away something with the hopes that it'll be there, but there's no really guarantee. And I'm sure it's in small printing when you look at your policy. There's no guarantee that money's going to be there. And because we haven't been taught any other way, we participate. You know, we figure this is because everybody else is doing it. Again, the sheep went left, so I'm a sheep. I'm gonna go the same way they go because I don't know any other way. No one's ever talking about any other way. And so I figured this is the only way. So if he gets hit, I get hit, we all get hit, and we just have to deal with it in hopes that it doesn't. And here's the other thing, that when a recession happens, we don't know at what point it happens, right? Especially when it comes to when you're ready to retire. Not everybody retires at 65. Some people can retire at 40, you know what I mean? But the point is you might put away enough money to figure, all right, I'm ready to retire. You leave your job and you have this money that's sitting there for you, and then you find out that a crash happens or a recession happens or some sort of scare, as we're noticing right now with the coronavirus, happens, and now your nest egg is being a fraction of what it was, and now you have to figure out, well, how am I going to be able to put more money in there? Do I need to go back to work? Do I need to, pull it out, liquidate it, and putting in something else? And this is where the craziness gets, because we're not taught how to manage money. It's a reason why the educational system, no matter what level, from grade school all the way up to college, they don't teach us how to manage money purposely. And this is why we're the ones that are getting screwed. Not just black people, everybody, right? So we do know that if you do have a 401k and you do want to touch your money, right, that if you're under 59.5, that you get taxed in certain states up to 5 times. I'm in New York, so you get taxed up to 5 times. Here's a little, just to let you know, like if someone was to pull out $50,000 and they're under 59.5, they would pretty much lose $21,000 of that withdrawal. That's because there's a federal tax that's been taken out, then you have your state tax, and you're also getting hit with an early penalty withdrawal. The thing is, though, this is supposed to be your money. This is the money that you're putting away, and you should be able to use it. But here's the thing is, we wonder, well, when should I pull this money out? Especially in a situation like right now. And I'm getting people calling me now like, should I pull out all my money in my 401k right now and face all of the taxes that you're going to get hit? And my question is, well, what stage are you at in your life? 1, your age. 2, your health. Are you healthy? And what's your financial need? Because if you do pull it out now and you're going to get taxed, you're going to lose a portion of that. And not, again, it's a couple thousand, probably tens of thousands, depending on how much you take out. But then also, if you leave it there and you hope that it's there when you really need it, when you can't work anymore, then it may not be there at all. So it's kind of like you got to make that decision. Now, I personally, you don't have to take my advice or follow my lead, but before all this even happened, beginning of this year, actually, I closed out my 401k account. And I did it mainly because I realized that the money I have in there, if this recession, because I heard in August there was going to be a recession coming, so I knew that was going to be coming, and now we're seeing this right now. This is just a small piece of it. But I also realized we were due. It was over 10 years. I learned my lesson from last time, losing nearly $250,000 in my 401k. Now, not that I pulled out $250,000. I ain't rolling like that. But I pulled out money realizing that, I can put it somewhere else because I've been learning financial literacy. I've been taking time out to learn where else I can put my money so that when this thing happens, that this money isn't affected, okay? So, yeah, the question is, and you might be having in your mind is, well, I'm in my 30s, my 40s or 50s, and I'm still working, so I don't know if I should be touching that money right now or not. But again, it may not be here when you're 60, 65, when you need it most. My thought is if you're young enough that you can still go out and take it out and put it into something else. Don't take it out and go to Cancun. We can't even go right now. But the point is don't take it out and splurge it. Put it on something that you can invest that's more safe. And that's what this talk is really all about. So what does that mean? So right now, we're going to be facing possibly quarantine, right? Everybody's going to have to be quarantined. Like the streets are already empty. The stores are empty. We don't know what the distribution of goods are going to be, especially if you live in urban areas. We don't know because we always get the last of the goods anyway when the trucks deliver food to our market. So we don't know when we're going to get stuff. And that creates a sort of paranoia, absolutely. I'm not going to, again, talk about that. But what I'm going to talk about is what we could be doing while we're quarantined, while you're sitting at home. Kids all running around the house because they're not going to be in school. And you sitting there like, damn, I got to work from home remotely. How can I keep, how can I keep my sanity? But here's the thing. Again, take the time to figure out what rich folk are doing. You know, because it's not that you want to be rich, but if you want to be well off, you got to study a person that's well off, right? That makes sense. So I started studying what rich folk do. And they have this rule. This thing is called a 5-hour rule. And it's basically, if you're not spending 5 hours per week learning, then you're being irresponsible. So if we look at our situation financially and things happen to us, in the case of this, where if we lose money out of our retirement savings or if we put it in the market and it's crashing, we can't really blame anybody but ourselves if we haven't put in the time. It's one thing to say, yeah, I have a portfolio and I have this money there and that money there, but do you really understand it? Do you put time into it? Do you really, do you study to find out when you should pull in, pull out, invest in the next thing or not? If you're not doing any of that, then whatever happens is our fault. And it's not to point fingers, but it's just to realize that we're not putting enough time into studying these things. That's why we fall victim. That's why we are in a situation that, you know, we're losing these monies and don't know how to put them back because no one's going to put them back. So it's really about applying 5 hours. And when you think about 5 hours, especially now with us possibly being quarantined, we're going to have a lot of time in our hands. You know, on average, if you're working, you're out and doing your day, when you come home, we average about 4 to 6 hours of late time where we do nothing. It could be just, you know, binging on Netflix or, you know, on social media, whatever. We do that roughly 4 to 6 hours a day. That comes down to roughly 42 hours a week. That's over 2,000 hours a year. And there's the saying that to become a master of something, you need to put in 10,000 hours. Well, a lot of us have been doing this for over 20 years. So, you know, we're double masters of nothing because we have nothing to show for it because we spend a lot of time doing nothing. It's not to say you can't have lay down time, but at the same time, of those 4 hours a day or 6 hours a day we waste, what if we gave 30 minutes of that? And if 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week, that gets you, or 7 days a week, that gives you that 5-hour rule. That helps you meet that quota of learning something. And for me, I chose to learn about financial literacy, hence why I'm talking about what I'm talking about tonight and sharing with you. So I'm going to start asking guys this question. I'm going to open up the chat for this. If you guys want to go ahead and participate in this piece, I want to ask you a question. And if you were to show up from your job, if you were to show up at your job on Monday, and realize that you show up to work and find out you were being let go, what would be the first thing that you would think about? And go ahead, please, and if you want, put that in the chat, what you would do if you showed up on Monday morning and they just let you know, hey, we letting you go. You know, don't even sit down. Don't even turn your computer on. We're ushering you out. What would be the first thing you think about? The second question would be, and it's a two-part, is do you live paycheck to paycheck? And if so, what is your plan to earn more? And the part B is, if not, do you have more than 6 months savings? And the third question is, have you ever said, I really can't complain, at least I have a job? And what I mean by that is we'll talk about how our manager pisses us off, how we hate our jobs. Most people don't like the jobs they're working in. And they'll always follow up that with all the complaints with, well, at least I have a job, I really can't complain. I really can't. You know what I mean? Thank God I have a job, right? Well, if that's the case, you got to go back to question number one, because again, any day you could show up. And then think about it. In your job, when you want to leave your job, they expect you to give them a 2 weeks notice, right? But a job can let you go the day of. They can have you work till 4:59 on a Friday and then tell you don't come back on a Monday. Or they can have you show up at 8:59 on Monday and tell you, look, just turn around and go back home. Okay, so just understand that. And I'd like to hear if anybody wants to participate and let me know. You can put it in the chat, all right? So let me just move on. So if you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. That's the fact. And guess what they had planned for you? Not much. I mean, when I heard this thing for the first time, it was after I got fired from my job. I worked for the National Basketball Association for 12 years, and I was fired from my job because I post things on social media that dealt with people, our people, African people, learning about our culture and our history. And they felt that went against what they were about, so they let me go effective immediately on March 13th, 2 days ago. No, yeah, 2 days ago, 3 years ago, right? So I'm celebrating my 3rd anniversary, being kicked off the plantation, and I'm happy about it. But the point is that, you know, if you don't design that plan for you, someone already has a plan for you, and what they have in mind for you ain't much, all right? So what I'm going to share with you tonight, I want to actually ask your permission, if I do a good enough job and you feel like that I've presented it well enough, that I want to share an opportunity with you, and I'll ask for your permission if that's okay, all right? So I'm going to speed through this. I want to start with this opening exercise. I'd like to do this. This is the exercise in mind. If you have a pad and pen, I'd like for you to draw this diagram here. It's a 3x3 dotted square. So just 3 rows of 3 dots. And what I'd like for you to do is to try and connect each line, or each dot rather, with 4 consecutive strokes. What that means is once you start on, you do 4 consecutive. You can't do a stroke on the left side, then one on the right side, then one under. It has to be 4 connected consecutive strokes, and the lines can only cross each other 1 time. So, okay, so that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, trying to connect all 9 of those dots with only 4 strokes, and the lines only crossing 1 time. So I'll give you a couple seconds to do that, and I'll proceed because I know we're ambidextrous. We can do more. We're multi-talented. We can do write and listen and hear at the same time. Right, listen and hear. All right. So moving on. I want to challenge you tonight. This is all about challenging us, right? What type of thinker are you? There's 3 types of thinkers. There's that literal thinker. That literal thinker is the majority of the people. This is the sheep I'm talking about. This is the 95% of the people will basically believe something because someone told them it, and they didn't even do the research themselves. So if I told you that the sky was pink, and if you believed in me as a person and as an authoritative figure, then you're not going to question it. Even though you look at it and know that it doesn't look pink, you're going to still think, well, it's pink. Because why? Because boy, they said it, right? Examples of that come with our parents, whatever they say we believe without question, authorities like a judge or a teacher, a professor, even a pastor. We don't question them because we see them as people of higher authority. So we will figure, why could I question them? They got to know, right? Even though we look at it, it don't make sense, right? So then the next is that inferential thinker, and that's the one where you like, yeah, it don't look pink. I'm looking right there right now, and it don't look pink, but you don't have the either the confidence or even information to back up or rebuttal why they're saying it's pink. That's the inferential thinker. What I'm hoping you are, if you're not already, is the evaluative thinker. The evaluative thinker is going to take what someone says, and if they find that they are not in agreement with it, then they'll go and find the research, either with themselves or through, looking it up, that they come back with the answer. So, for instance, no, the sky is not pink, it's blue. It's blue because, and I can tell you why. That's that evaluative thinker, meaning that whatever I tell you, even tonight, what I tell you, you don't have to believe everything I'm saying. You can go ahead and look it up and validate it for yourself. And I do welcome the challenge as far as if there's any rebuttal. I'm totally open with that. I'm not saying I know everything and I'm right about everything. It's all about learning. But at the same time, I'm that evaluative thinker. I'm going to take everything I've learned to this point. I did the research myself to validate it for myself, and now I can spit it back in my own words instead of regurgitating it. All right? So where your attention goes, so does your time. And when you think about it, the question is, which are you? Chris Rock said this: I'd always end up broken down on the highway, and when I stood there trying to flag someone down, nobody stopped. But when I pushed my own car, other drivers would get out and push with me. If you want help, help yourself. People like to see that. That, to me, makes a lot of sense. If you are doing something, if you take this initiative yourself, you're going to find other people that will be there to help you along the way. But if you're just sitting there stuck and not moving with your hands out, people are going to walk right by you, okay? Another play on this, I like this play that Ron Swanson said, give a man a fish and feed him for a day. Don't teach a man to fish and feed yourself. He's a grown man, and fish is not that hard. And not only does that make sense, but it's also the mindset it's going to be right now, because again, with this craze that's happening, people are going to be, we're going to see the real humanity or less in people as we think that things are going to be in shortage, right? Because of this scare, people have been buying up everything, thinking that tomorrow's going to die, when all you have is about a week's worth of groceries. What are you going to do? And the funny thing about it is they'll buy all these food, right, thinking that there's not going to be none in a couple of weeks, but they're going to continue eating the same way they eat. They're going to continue eating 3 big heavy meals a day. So they're going to go through that food in less than a week. So, the mentality is all switched and wrong. But again, here in this situation, thinking about a person, you want to help people, but at the same time, everybody can't be an ant if everybody's a grasshopper. Then the ant will become the grasshopper. If the ant gives the grasshopper shares his food, then that's less food that the ant will have for him and his family. So the point is thinking about what can you do to be that ant and also be that fisherman and not be the one that's waiting for someone to feed you fish. Okay? So if you allow, and this is why this is so important, if you allow someone to feed you, you also allow them to starve you. So in this case, we have been dependent on our employers. We're dependent on, we're grasshoppers in some respect. We do work, but at the same time, this government, we're waiting for them to bail us out. We're waiting for them to come to our help or our assistance if things get bad. We're not gardening. We're not planting our own food, so we're totally reliant upon whatever supplies that their delivery trucks bring into our communities, right? We only have a certain level of perishables in our homes. I'm a 70s baby. I knew that my grandmother and aunts and uncles that were elders, they used to have a cellar full of food because they went through wars and they understood that thing. Well, we haven't had anything happen here in a long time, so we've gotten away from that. We've gotten into all the instant thing. We'll go down to the corner and get something to eat. We'll go to McDonald's and get something to eat and have no food in the house, but we'll go down to fast food restaurants and eat, and we'll be cool with that. We have not planned. So because of that, when things do hit, when something does hit the fan, and they're unable to provide what they've been providing, who suffers? We suffer because we haven't planned, because we've been dependent. And this is the same situation, not just from a food perspective, but also from a financial perspective, even more so. So let me ask you how you guys have done. If any of you were able to, connect these 9 dots. I'm hoping that someone has, and it's okay if you haven't, because at one time I didn't know. This is not to challenge your intellect or anything of that nature. But I'm going to go ahead. If anyone doesn't want to chime in and say they got it, and there's no way to prove it, unless you send me a screenshot. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell you how it's done. So take a look at this picture again. Now see this, right? We see the 3x3. Now here's the answer. And that looks kind of crazy, right? But let me go back. Before you started, what you saw in these 9 dots, your mind told you that there is an illusionary border. There's a box that I can only play in. So I can only connect these inside here. That's what our mind told us, right? Psychologically and silently. We didn't even think it through. We just saw this is the only playing field I have, right? But here's the answer. Here's that same 3 dots, three rows of 3 dots. And here is the red dotted illusionary border that we put there, okay? Now, I'll show you how we connect these 9 dots. I started outside the box, and I came down. Connected over here, then I took a left. Here's my second line coming again outside of the box. And then my third line starts to connect these 2 dots, and this is where the point of intersection, because the line can only cross one time, right? Here's my third line, and here's my fourth line. So you might be asking, why is he showing me this? I didn't call about any tricks or anything like that. What this is to show you is that we have been sold a box of goods where we think we can only play within this realm. All of our lives, intergenerationally, going back to our grandparents, great-grandparents, and probably when we were enslaved as well, is that we were told we could only play within these parameters, whereas the rest of the world plays out here. And that's why they're able to have the riches that they have, the wealth that they have, even though a lot of it's coming from us. But we have yet to understand that until now. So in order for us to really think about surviving, to me, I think, to survive in this next world, especially with what we got coming, be it not just recessions, but I'm talking about artificial intelligence and eliminating jobs, and what are we going to do to earn a living if we don't have any jobs? We need to start doing something different. We need to start thinking outside the box, breaking our traditional ways of where we did things, and do something different. So that's what this is really all about, okay? So this year is really about correcting our vision. 2020 is about getting that 2020 vision, and I'll even go a third. We need to open that third eye and get that 2020 vision in shape so that we can survive not just for us, but for our children's children's children, okay? This is much bigger than we think it is, and we have to start thinking of that way because everybody else is. Everybody else is. So Harry Truman said there's nothing new in the world except the history you don't know. And what that basically comes down to is the information that we know about finances, we don't really know much about it, and there's so much more to know, and it is new to us, but it really ain't new at all because people have been doing this for over 200 years and making money as far as keeping intergenerational wealth in their family and their bloodline, okay? So let's just be factual about what's happening here. The job market is demeaningly increasing. It's not getting better. Yeah, there's more jobs, but the type of jobs aren't really good, right? The type of jobs are basically second, part-time jobs. They're not full-time jobs. A lot of them don't come with benefits. A lot of the pay is low. So a lot of people, these are supplemental income jobs to add on to what they're already making. So it's not enough to leave their current job. It's just enough to help them get by so they can start paying their other bills. We've seen, you know, President Trump talks about all these jobs he's creating, but they don't talk about the type of jobs they're creating. They're creating the jobs that are mainly in shipping, packaging, and fast food restaurants and things of that nature. So it isn't the top executive or white-collar jobs. It's these small jobs that now even elderly people are taking from teenagers, like working at Pizza Hut. These are the type of jobs that's happening, right? And we know that something's not right, but we just don't know how to address it because, you know, we're too busy caught up into trying to pay our bills. We don't have time to think about how do I get my money right? You know, I just know I need to get another job. You know, like I said, when you show up on the Monday and your job is taken, the first thing most people will do is they think about their money, and by the next day they're already looking in the one app for another job to work at. And that's the situation that it works like, is because we think from one job to one job to one job, but the problem is they always have that notion of the last one hired is the first one fired. So when you leave that job, no matter how long you've been there, the next job you look for, you probably get paid less despite your tenure. And then the fact that you were the latest one hired, you'll probably be the first one fired. That's just the way it's been, okay? And we have folks that are working, you know, we have Jeff Bezos, who is the owner of Amazon, and I'm partly responsible for making him rich because I've been shopping at Amazon for several years, giving him a lot of money. I'm sure some of us have done it as well with online shopping. But he's, you know, the richest man in the world at $110 billion worth, and he cut benefits to 2,000 part-time workers. You know, he has enough money to pay their benefits himself, but he, doesn't pay any taxes, number one, and two, doesn't even pay the benefits for his workers. So we're seeing the type of jobs that we have that demeaning, and they're not even, it's almost it echoes or beckons the call for them to think about how close it is to slavery is this, at least in the prison industrial complex sense. We're also starting to see more corporations that have been around for, you know, decades that are now laying off people in the thousands. Ford Motor Company laid off 8,000 people last summer. In October, HP Hewlett-Packard laid off 9,000 people. So this is becoming an ongoing thing. And this is the saying that Charles Bukowski said. You know, how in the hell could a man enjoy being awakened at 6:30 a.m. by an alarm clock, leap out of bed, dress, force feed, pee, brush teeth and hair, and fight traffic to get out to a place where essentially you made lots of money for someone else and were asked to be grateful to do so? This is the reality, this is the matrix that we signed up to as being worker bees. And we've never been taught that you could do anything else. You know, outside of hitting the lottery and being rich, or you're an athlete or an entertainer, the majority of us don't have those opportunities before, so we have to be part of the work field. And the bottom line is, and I want to leave you with this, if anything else, please remember this. No matter what stage you're at, unless you own your own company, you're self-employed, no employer is obligated to pay you for the rest of your life. Eventually, you'll be laid off, a victim of downsizing, or fired. This is just a fact. No employer is obligated to pay you for the rest of your life. And when you do lose that job eventually, what still is consistently coming every 30 days? Those bills. And those bills don't care about who you work for, what happened. You know, maybe they'll give you 2 or 3 months to try to find a new work or things of that nature, but they're going to want their money. If you want to keep the lights on, if you want to keep your mortgage, you want to keep your house, the bank will take your house. So that is something that we all face, and the older we get, the closer we are to losing those jobs. So if you're in your 30s, enjoy it, you know, but if you're in your 40s and 50s, you know, you got to really understand that, one, you're getting at a point where tenure is not rewarded. So the age that you're at, the skill level you have that you've accomplished, the degrees that you have or not, does not matter when you become in your 50s, because now, even your late 40s, because now you are too expensive. They can't afford you because they don't want to keep paying you what you're worth when they could pay somebody straight out of college much less. And they don't even have you train them and then get rid of you. So this is the reality that we're facing. Tenure doesn't hold weight, and the bills, again, are going to always continue to come. The other part is that we don't realize is that we're having competition. And, you know, Trump will have you think it's about the immigrants that are taking away the jobs. It's not immigrants that are taking away the jobs. It's AI, it's automation. Automation is replacing human workers. And if you checked out the news, just for occasion, just check and see what's going on in the tech field, you'll realize you've probably seen self-driving cars that are out now, right? Tesla, they're testing these things. They're going to be normal within the next 5 to 10 years. That's going to eliminate jobs from taxi drivers, right? 40% of malls are going to be out of business. And again, I'm guilty shopping online. When you shop online, that eliminates a person's job at a mall that will be selling you that same thing. A lot of us are willing to wait a couple of days opposed to going through traffic and going through all that nonsense to go to the mall to buy something. We've already noticed how many call centers we call it. We can't even talk to a human being unless you talk to this computer for like 5 or 10 minutes pressing all these prompts to get to an operator, right? So these are things that are being replaced. If you go into a McDonald's, you've probably seen down here, now McDonald's, certain places, they have these automated kiosks where you go in there and you order your food by pressing these, on a computer screen, whatever you want to order, and then you don't see a person until it's time to pay, okay? Sam's Club, which is like a Costco, if you're not familiar with, Sam's Club is going to be having a cashierless and cashless store where you walk in, pick up what you want, and walk right out. They already have that happening in China. And they're using facial recognition to walk in, and that facial recognition is attached to a bank account, so they're debiting the money from your account, and you don't even have to press or scan anything. They see your face. They have the numbers of what you're on the barcode of what you're buying is automatically tallies done. So this is what's happening in real life. You might have seen this too. Easy Pass. When you're driving through the Holland Tunnel or anywhere, especially on the East Coast, if you're going down to DC or Maryland and you're going through these tolls, you're seeing these Easy Passes. Well, think about it. Yeah, it's easy for us to go ahead and drive through and not have to stop. But that's also eliminating a job of a human being that will be there to take that money for you. So that person now has to find another job to feed their family. It could have been you as well. You might also see, like in Walmart or Home Depot, they have these things now where they have the self-check lines where you could take your food or take your goods rather, and instead of waiting in that long line, you can go ahead here and scan the goods and bag it yourself and walk right out. You think, whoa, that's what's up. I ain't got to wait in line. I ain't got to be caught up on get in and get out, right? But think about this. Who is it really benefiting? Is it you? No, it's benefiting the CEO, because the CEO realizes that I can pass this labor on to the consumer. I don't have to hire someone to sit there for 8 hours scanning goods and pay them also benefit. I can have the consumer go ahead and take care of that, bag their own thing and walk out, and that's so much money that I save. But we don't realize that. If you're, 70s or 80s babies, you can remember going to the bank where you see bank tellers. They'd be like, 5 or 10 bank tellers when you walk into a large bank branch. Today, those same windows are there, but now they're plastered up with advertisement, and in front of you might see one of these big old kiosks that is a computer kiosk that can handle any deposit, whatever level of amount that you want to put in. We also have, Amazon lockers now, where, Amazon has already taken over the shipping. They're definitely causing UPS and FedEx problems as far as competition is concerned. And especially when they bring in their drones. If you looked about, they're going to have a drone service where you're going to see like things flying over your head and it's dropping off a package to someone. But the thing is that, we're seeing how technology is replacing, and we're thinking it's efficient and it costs less time and I don't have to do much more. But it's also eliminating jobs. These are millions of people that will have to find work elsewhere. And if you know anything about history, especially when you think about the first people that started coming to New York and the immigrants, they were fighting over the same jobs. So this is what's going to happen here. Eventually, if we don't have a way to deal with our finances, we're going to be fighting over the same jobs, and there's only but so many jobs. So for those that do get the job, they'll be okay, but for those that don't, what else are they going to do? Well, the only thing they have left for them to do is do what? Petty theft. They're going to be stealing bread because they need their family needs to eat, right? Well, if they get caught, the prison industrial complex is sitting right there waiting for you to come there and be a lifetime employee. This is what is being set up for us, people. And I want you to understand that, but it doesn't have to be. Because again, if you don't set a plan for yourself, someone else is setting up for you. What they got planned for you is not much. So this is what's happening. This is the reality. So the job market is becoming automated. Mainly it's retail and sales, administrative and clerical, food service prep, and transportation. We're going to see on the highway big old semi trucks and no one's driving it. That'll scare the ish out of me, but that's what we're going to see. And that replaces a human being that was able to take care of their family again. So this now person has to find another job in a probably total different industry. But this again is replacing hundreds of millions of people over the next decade. And the population growth is still happening. So what are people going to be doing to earn money, to pay their bills? So I use the acronym POATAS. It means People of African Descent in the United States. And I say that because it's a more unification role for me. I don't want to say African Americans and not include Caribbean Americans or Africans that moved over to America that are in America or anybody else, Canadian Africans, things of that nature. We're all black, right? But I use the term Pawatis because it's all-inclusive of all people of color of the diasporic African region that are living in America. So I'm saying this to say that Pawatis is the most consumptive race on the planet. It's one of the main reasons that we don't have as a race a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. And I say this because we have a $1.4 trillion spending power, and it's in jeopardy. We actually have the highest purchasing as a collective. We would be, if we were a nation, we'd be the 6th largest nation with the largest, we have the 6th largest spending power, and we're not even a nation, okay? So we have this $1.4 trillion that we give away frivolously, right? Because we don't have enough black businesses, and we are wearing something that was made by somebody not black, you know, be it Nike, Prada, Gucci, whatever it is. That money is going to those people, those communities, and their families, and enriching them, right? So that money, that $1.4 trillion that we have that we give away frivolously, is in jeopardy. Why? Because AI will take away a lot of those jobs that we have. And those jobs that we have, if we don't have the jobs, then we don't have the money. If we don't have the money, we don't have the spending power. So this is how we can actually lose our net worth very quickly. Not even net worth, but our spending power, because we have a 1% net worth. That's a whole other story. But Martin Luther King said all too often when there's a mass unemployment in the black community, it's referred to as a social problem. And when there's a mass unemployment in the white community, it's referred to as a depression. So we're starting to see now that what's happening, you know, again, using Corona as an example, what's happening is now it's an epidemic, right? Now they want to deal with, you know, taking care of things. But in Detroit, people haven't had water for, what, almost 10 years? You know, black people live there. So we're seeing that things are now becoming an epidemic because it's now reaching white folk. And that's okay, you know, as far as it's about time. But just understand, no one's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. And I'm saying this because this thing really is systemically put by design. And it means that it is not the only choice you have to make. If it's a design, that means that other people aren't doing it. And how else can we get into that type of mindset, learning what they're doing? Well, this is what this talk is about. But I have to give you the background about why things are the way they are, right? Socioeconomically, it's deprivation by design. We have collectively negative wealth. A third of us have negative wealth or no assets at all. Today, for every $100 that a white family has, we have $5.04. 80% of all Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and another 80% don't even have $400 if they need it for an emergency. So we don't have money. We do have money, but we spend it. So the problem is we're all gluttony when it comes to, practice gluttony when it comes to giving away money. We treat it like it's a hot potato. The last recession that we had in 08, 09, 07, 08, 09, basically we lost as a collective Pawatis 10% of our wealth, right? We were basically, the average home brought in $12,000 average a year. $12,000 a year. That's crazy, right? $12,000 the average black family brought in as for the year. And after the recession, it went down to $5,600. Okay? Whites, on the other hand, they had, before the recession, $135,000 a year. The average family brought $135,000, and it went down only to $113,000 after the recession. And these recessions, as I mentioned, they happen every 10 to 12 years. There's 4 quarters. It's strategically done to keep this economic balance, as they say. I think it's actually crazy, but that's what they have designed it for, whereas in one place, a side of the hemisphere is doing good, the other one isn't. Venezuela is a perfect example. If you're losing money in your 401k, because a lot of those stocks and bonds are put into the market that affects Venezuela. So since Venezuela isn't doing well, that's why your 401k isn't doing well, okay, because they're still in a recession. And as I mentioned before about the retirement families, the retirement sector, a lot of them had to go back to work. Before the recession, only 18.4% got their earnings from work. This is people that are already retired had to go back to work, right? But after the recession, it nearly doubled, 30%. And now, I don't even know what the numbers are right now. I think it's like 37, 38% now. They're trying to find work. It doesn't mean that they have work, but over 38% are in search of work, because after the recession happened in 08 and they lost $2.7 trillion, a lot of these elders had no way to pay for their, for their doctor visits, their medicine. Some of them had lost their homes. They had to move in with their children. Some of them even died because of the money that was no longer there that they had that was supposed to be that nest egg for them. Okay, and again, the government didn't even say they were sorry. But here's the thing about the 401k sector. You know, we think about it. We put money into this thing, and this is where the game is. This is why it's important, and I want you guys to. And I'm glad you listening in tonight, because this is the most key thing I want you to understand about 401ks and other IRAs and things that you put in the money market. They have this notion where they tell you to put away money, give us money for a certain amount of years, and at the end of this term, then I'll pay you back this money, right? Now imagine if someone told you, look, I'm gonna give you $100 a month for 20 years, and in the 20th year, I want you to pay it back to me, okay? Now you're thinking, okay, you know, that's 20 years, that's a lot of money. When you add it all up, that's a lot of money. And somewhere along the way, if not in the first year, maybe the third year, maybe even the fifth year, you'd be like, you know what? I got all this money he's been giving me, and he don't want it for another 15 years, so maybe I could take some of that money and buy something for me. And I'll recoup it back. I'll put it into something that I can recoup an investment, and I'll still have his money to give him, but I'm going to use his money to make money for me. And that's what the system really is. That's what it's simply put that way. And when you see it that way, it makes me realize how we've been duped to believe that these people are going to deliver, right? So what you basically do in the 401k is you put away money for 20 to 35 years. And if you choose to take it out before you're 59 and a half, you get charged. So you get charged a massive penalty, again, up to 5 times in certain states. So you're thinking, you know what, I don't want to lose money I put into it, so yeah, I'm never going to touch it. I know people that have never touched their 401k and have worked for 20, 30 years, right? And they're proud about it. And that's okay. But the point is what have they been doing with that money that you've been giving them freely every month, right? And then when you do choose to pull it out, it's supposed to be pre-tax money. When you do pull it out, it's supposed to be now it's affixed to your income. So in an instance where, say, you have a need, right, like right now. So say, for instance, you want to go ahead, you want to pull out, I don't know, $10,000 or $15,000 of your 401k because you see this catastrophe coming and you just want to tap into it, right? Well, if you're making $60,000 at your job and you pull out $15,000 and you're taxed in the $60,000 bracket, now you're going to be taxed in the $75,000 bracket because that $15,000 you pulled out, even though you're only going to get about 60% of it, you're going to get taxed the full $15,000. So now your salary for the year is $75,000. Even though you didn't get the full $15,000, you probably got $8,000, but they're going to tax you for that, okay? And on top of that, you really can't predict the tax rate 30 years from now. You have no idea, we have no idea what the tax rate is going to be 30 years from now. I'm sure it's going to be higher because if you look at the history, all you got to do is look at the history. The tax rate has always increased. It's been less a decade from now. A decade ago, it was less. And the decade before that, it was even less. So it's going to continue to grow since the cost of living grows and all these other things happening for growth. So is inflation and tax going to grow. So, you know, we have no idea what it's going to be. So the money we're putting away now, thinking, okay, I'm going to have this amount of money when I retire, we can't factor in the tax rate from 30 or 20 years from now. So that money we think we're going to have actually is going to be less because we don't know, and we don't even know how much less, because we have no idea what the tax rate is going to be when it comes time to pull it out when we're retired, okay? And by the time you get it, if you do wait till you're retired, you done live 2/3 of your life. The most thing you're going to do is probably, you know, travel, buy a sports car, whatever. But outside of that, there's nothing that you can really significantly do to create intergenerational wealth, okay? And that's our problem. Most families, I'm sure I'm one of them, you may be also, you've had to start from zero. You didn't inherit wealth from your family. You didn't inherit it from your parents or your grandparents. You had to start all over. You paid for your school, you paid for your loans, you paid for everything you've got. You bought the house on your own. These things doesn't have to be that way. There are families that actually have these things set in place for their children's children so they can actually live the life that they were actually born to do, opposed to working for the first, 3/4 of their life, and then when they're retired, oh, you can go ahead and do what you want to do. So the other thing is you have the employer's match. And the employer's match is something that we think is there for us, that the employer's going to look out for us, and they'll give you, if you put in 3%, they'll put in 3%. And the fact is that for every dollar that the employer contributes to your 401k, they pay less than your salary. So you're really not getting but a penny from them. All they're investing is a penny into your 401k. And it's spread out over 4 to 6 years, and it has to be at least up to 6 years as a regulated max. What that means is you will not get that penny that they're contributing until you've been at that place for at least 6 years. You have to be at that job, particular job, for 6 years. If you leave before that job, for that 6th year, everything they put in there comes back to them. you don't get any of that, right? So if you think about it, for them it helps because the average person stays at their job only 4.6 years. So if you're not staying, if the average person doesn't stay at a job long enough to receive the dividends, who gets the dividends? The company gets the dividends. So that's free money for them. But we don't hear about that stuff. We don't read about that stuff. And on top of that, they invest in the most volatile things anyway. I mean, you think that you got $50,000, you only have $50,000 worth of shares. So if the market goes down, so does that $50,000. And that they tell you, don't look at it as a long-term investment. Don't watch it. Just walk away. It'll be there when you need it, when you retire, right? Not realizing the fluctuating value is going up and down over the years, that you really didn't make a lot of money over time. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Now, here's the other thing about Social Security, because if it's not IRAs and savings and CD bonds and 401ks, it's our Social Security, right? And, when you look at the debt, I don't know if you ever realize this, but if we look at, they say we over $23 trillion in debt. If you go to debtclock.org, it'll show you that we owe over $23 trillion. And my next natural question was, well, who do we owe it to? Who do we, first of all, I don't owe anything to y'all, but America, who do they owe that money to? So $1.11 trillion each is owed to China and Japan as of May of last year. The United Kingdom, then you got Brazil, Ireland, and the rest of the money is owed to the people. It's owed to you and me because we put money into it in our check. Well, we don't take it in our paycheck, right? So this money is sitting there in a war chest that the government used at will. They use it for bailouts. They're probably using it now to bail I think they just saw that. I saw today that they are doing 0% interest on mortgage rates. So they're putting money into the banks. They're putting money into all these other systems so that they can still fluctuate and run and not get hit by the economic crunch. So where's that money coming from? It's coming from the Social Security war chest. So it's been estimated, not only does it do that, but they also use it to fund wars. I mean, we've been in an endless war since Iraq, right? So the point is that these things are being paid for by us. It's owed to us, and I don't see us getting that money back. And because of that, they're saying that this money can be depleted by the year 2033. So if you are looking to retire after 2033, you might have been getting a Social Security check, and if you do, it'll be nothing, a smidgen of what it should be. Okay, so this, again, as a retiree, they're not looking out for retirees. That sector, they just kick them to the curb. And again, this is all design. It's put by design, and I want to show you how it is, but first I just want to give you that background. I did give you the background, so I don't need to do that. But I want to tell you about what I created. I do want to tell you a little bit more. Aside from me writing about African history and things of that nature and loving our people and all that, I worked for the NBA for 12 years. I got fired, again, I mentioned, and because of stuff I was posting on social media about black people, and they let me go immediately. And the first time I had that question, what would you do if you showed up on a Monday and you were let go? And the first thing I thought about is I got to protect my money. And the first thing I thought about was I need to have some seed money to take care of me over the next 2 or 3 months, because in my mindset, I wasn't going to come back to corporate America. I looked at this as an ancestor telling me, look, you have been dealing with other financial. I just started getting into financial literacy. I was like, this is going to free me up to figure and understand what financial literacy is. I was beginning my 5-hour rule. And so I need to have a little bit of money to put aside to take care of me and mine. And I met with my broker, who happened to be a fellow alumni from the University of Pittsburgh. And he started telling me things he said he normally don't tell people. He told me about the history of recessions. I didn't know about recessions. I didn't know that they were cyclical. Then he told me when I was pulling out money, I wanted to pull out some money just to hold me up for a couple months, remember? So when I did that, I had to write down my occupation on the application. And I said, well, I just got laid off, so I can't put that I'm unemployed, right? He said, no, that doesn't make sense. You don't want to put that on there. He told me, this is what you put on there. You put on there that you live off your savings and investments. And when he said, you live off your savings and investments, my mind just said, it just blew up, because it hit me. At that point, I realized this is how white boys live. This is how the rich boys live. They live off their savings and investments. That is actually an occupation. People can do that. People are living off their savings and investments. So I said, wow, what does that look like? So I started thinking about that, and it got me into financial literacy, which got me into now what I was learning, implementing the things that I've learned, and it's been working for me for almost 3 years as of 2 days ago. And naturally, I said, man, I want to share this with my people, because no one is talking about this in our community. No one is talking about financial literacy to this depth. And so how can I help our people get in a position where in a situation like this with AI, or in a situation with a coronavirus and a scare, like that financially we are taken care of. We don't have to worry about losing at least that. And that's why I created the Cryptowoke Financial Sustainability Movement. And when I talk about the movement, it is a movement. People think when you see crypto, you think I'm talking about cryptocurrency. I did do that a while back, but I moved on to something even greater, which is financial literacy as a whole. Crypto is really a smidget of it, and it may not even happen, so I'm not even focusing on it at the moment. What I'm focusing on is cryptic, or crypto. The etymology of the word crypto is cryptic, and hidden, it means hidden. It means something that is hidden. So I realized that there's been hidden money-making methods that have been used by rich families for over 200 years. They've gone through wars, stock market crashes, recessions, depressions, and these families still held on to their wealth. And I'm like, well, how is it they were able to do that? Well, I did some research, did some diligence, and realized that this is a simple practice, and we have not been privy to that conversation until now. So that is why this is the call for tonight, to let you know that I've developed a plan, I've developed a curriculum, an online masterclass that shows people how to learn how to create intergenerational wealth without picking up a new job, using leverage of the monetary system, using them as they use us to create intergenerational wealth for your bloodline. Okay? So my goal is to get 300 people to be financial literate and on the path of sustainability. And from there, we talk about we want to buy up the block. Well, you know, we see opportunities that come across the table, but we're not equipped. Man, if I had money, I'd do it. Well, how about we get ourselves in a position where we can do it? That's what this is all about. So I want to give you a first jewel giveaway. I have two that I want to give you. This is the first one. When it comes to your credit score, if you want to boost your credit score really quickly, and I deal with credit in respect of building and I don't do the letters and the disputes. I don't do that. But if you want to raise your credit score, you can do this one simple thing, and you'll see a raising your credit score within 2 pay periods, or 2 months, basically. If you were to start paying down 2 payments on large payments, for instance, if you have a car note, and say you owe $400 a month on your car note, right? So you owe $400 and it's due on the 15th of the month. So on the 1st of the month, you send $200, you send half, $200 on the 1st of the month, and then on the 12th, 3 days before it's due on the 15th, you send the other $200. What that does is it fools the credit card company or the loan agency that you're paying it into thinking you made 2 full payments, and they report it in your credit. So what that means is your score is going to jump not 5 or 10, but up to 30, 40, 50 points after 2 months of doing that, and keep doing it every month, paying all your larger bills in half. Paying half up front at the beginning of the month, and then the other half 3 days before it's due. And the reason why I say 3 days, because you don't pay it on the day of, you run the risk of being late. A lot of us have late marks on our credit report because sometimes we paid it the day of, but it didn't register in their system until after 5 o'clock. So to eliminate all that, I pay it 3 days before, 3 business days before it's due, so there's no way that you can say you got it late, and then you don't get that mark on your credit report. So that's one way you can do that. You'll notice that your score will jump up. So let me just keep moving on. I got a couple more slides I want to get through to you guys. So if you die today, your job will be posted online for your obituary. This is just a fact. And I think that we've been sold this lie. We've been sold a lie that, you know, getting an education, getting all these degrees is what's going to allow you to live this life of tranquility and financial fortune, right? And we've had this notion of, you know, W. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, whereas Booker T. said, you know, it's about having a skill, because if you have a skill, you can take care of yourself forever. Whereas W.B. Du Bois thought, well, you know, let's just buy into the educational system, as have as many degrees as possible, and then maybe they'll accept us. And we realized that people that have degrees now aren't even working in their field. I'm one of them. When I was working, I was not in my field. My degree is in history. So we all have to understand that what we sign up for and we paid tens of thousands, if not several $100,000 for to get a degree of, there's not even jobs for that. And Dr. Clark said that what I've learned is a lot of people there's a lot of people with degrees that don't know a damn thing, and a lot of people with no degrees that are brilliant. And that's just the fact. You know, a lot of millionaires in America, a lot of them don't even have a high school diploma. They get other people to do that type of work. But we've been sold this path of life is to get the degree, you know, get that high school diploma, get your college degree, then get that job, that house, that car with the white picket fence, and your family, and you invest in the CDs, bonds, and 401ks of the stock market, and then you retire and you live happily ever after, right? That's what they told us. But the fact is they never told you how you're going to pay for it. They never tell you how to create wealth. They just tell you, you're going to be a worker bee. You're going to get a job. You're going to pay it off. That's just what it is. But the school systems even now, they're preparing us for an economy that won't even exist. The jobs that we want, the jobs that the kids want won't even be there because of AI. So we have to realize we have to start thinking differently. And, you know, we've been caught up into doing the traditional model of going to college and we get that job. We're stuck in that 9-to-5 job because we got to pay off our bills, right? We have to pay off that college loan, and now the nice whoop we got and the nice house we got trying to keep up with the Joneses, because if you got a degree, you're supposed to have material things, right? So we get caught up, and then we waste all this time, and at the end of the day, we have nothing to show for it, because even the money that we put away that's supposed to be there may not be there for us. So after we get the degree, the reality is that we come out owing more than we're going in. When you come out of high school 18, you'll have barely any debt, if any at all. But when you come out of college, you probably have tens of thousands of dollars in debt because of this student loan. And some people are still paying off their student loan in their 50s. You know, 30 years later, still paying off that loan because they've been paying the bare minimum, and, you know, they think that, yeah, I just can't afford to pay it all off. Meanwhile, all that money you've been paying, you've been spending more than what the loan was for. I saw this one thing here. I like this meme. It came out on Halloween. I just called it the scariest pumpkin I could think of. Student loans. You know, like, that's something that sticks with us. A lot of people are still dealing with paying off college loans and working in jobs that, you know, are unfulfilling and not even in the same degree field, right? So we've been sold a lie of getting that degree. You climb the social economic ladder, you get that bag, right? The reality is you come out of college in debt. You try to find a job that won't pay you enough, and you end up with compounded debt because you can't even pay off the college loan debt, so it keeps adding on. Some people go in there with a $20,000 loan and end up paying over $60,000 back in the duration of that loan's life. On top of the fact that the market is not offering us what we're worth. I mean, you have here, this is a job that's saying they prefer you have a master's degree, but they're going to only pay you $15. Like, this is the audacity of what the market is right now. All that we pay for those degrees we're not able to cash in. So I'm going to give you an example. Someone that makes, for 30 years, $100,000 for over 30 years, that's going to make, you know, roughly $3 million. You think, oh, he did pretty good, $3 million, $100,000 job for 30 years. Then he probably got some bonuses there, so he has some earning increases, so about 5%. So that jumps up to 6.6% if he got a bonus every year for 30 years. And then he also, at the same time, was doing some investments. So he's smart, did about 5% investments over 30 years. So that jumped up to $12.9 million. So out of a 30-year career making $100,000, this person is going to cap off with about $12.9 million, which is pretty good, right? But we didn't factor in three things. We didn't factor in taxes. Taxes are roughly 40 cents on the dollar. What I mean by that is not just IRS and state taxes, but also taxes you pay for when you go out to buy clothes or food or things of that nature. When you're buying things, taxes are part of it. So we rounded that off to 40 cents on the dollar. That's 40%. Loans, your student loans, car loans, mortgages, 35%. And then your lifestyle is basically your food, clothing, and shelter. Well, not the shelter, but the food and the clothing, right? And entertainment, travel, vacation, things of that nature. So when we tally those numbers up, let's look at how this person that made $12.9 million over 30 years based upon the investments he had. I'm sorry, it was 12.4. So when you factor in taxes, this person loses 40% of that, 12.4. It jumps down to 7.2% automatically, right? Then you factor in the loans, and then you factor in lifestyle. When you factor in all these things, this person went from $12.4 million to when he retires, it's only $186,000 left. And this is the reality that 98.5% of our earnings are lost to these three things. We can't get away from those three things. So all of us are going to face a 98.5% loss of our career earnings. But we don't factor this in, and we don't think about it because we're never told to think about it. We never even think about it until it happens. So imagine if we were to and we have money in a savings account, right, in the market, and the market drops 40%. Right when we're about to retire, like now, right? Say somebody retired this week and the market dropped 9% on Thursday, right? So they lost 9% up to 9% of their life savings, and that's, you think 9% is a lot, but 9% could be a lot for someone that can't work anymore, okay? Can't put it back. The truth is that Americans owe $1.56 trillion in student loan debt, and that's $521 billion more than the total U.S. credit card debt. Remember I told you about that person that borrowed $26,000 and they paid back $32,000 over 23 years, and they still owe $45,000. That's because the nature of the loan is when you pay in small dividends, a lot of the money goes into interest. They pay the interest more than the principal. So we're paying off something, giving away free money, not even paying off the debt. But we're not taught these things, and we're thinking I'm only paying $100 a month, I'm only paying $20 a month, that's all I can afford. Where that debt is going to stay there because that $20 you just sent in barely took off a decimal point off of the total amount that you owe. All right? So this continues to allow banks to make money. This is how they make their money, off of the loans. This is something that, again, we're not taught about money. Excuse me. The second jewel, I'm going to skip that. Excuse me. I'm going to skip that because that really wasn't nothing. So let me just speed on because I got about 15 more slides I want to get to you guys. I know I've been off a little bit over an hour, and I'm glad that you're staying with me. I appreciate it. And again, if you got any questions, you can actually put it into the Q&A chat. I'll be there to answer those questions when we're finished, okay? So the system that we have right now and how it works is that you get that degree education, you invest in the banking system, and also in the savings model. And you still up in your elderly years need a job to pay off because to pay for the rest of your living because the money that you put away really isn't there and it forces you to have to go out and get a job. So what are banks really doing with our money? This is the thing that really got me and started me understanding about financial literacy. It's so important for us to know, is that banking is the most important business in the world. Without it, people cannot make money. There's no transactions without banks, right? And a bank usually comes between a person that is a lender, the person that lends the money, the person that gives the money, the person that takes the money, right? And we're usually the person that gives and takes the money. The loan officer is the bank, right? The bank can't make money. They can't make money unless people put money in their vaults, right? So they rely on us to put money in there. If we don't put money in there, they can't loan it out. So what are they doing with our monies? We're basically employing them. We're empowering them by putting our money in there, simply by doing that. And we've been told, hey, your money is safest where? You think it's safest in the bank, right? So when you think about it, before 1919, 1999 rather, when they started the direct deposits, banks every day will be sitting there, frantically waiting for people to come in and make deposits. But when in 1999 they created the direct deposit system, they knew that on specific days of the week, at specific times of the month, large consumptions of money will be coming in. When that money comes in, they can take that money and then they can loan it out to other people and make money off of it, right? And we would make nothing from it. So what do they have in place? How they make this money is called a fractional reserve lending system. What that means is for every dollar that you put in the bank, that you deposit into your savings or checking, is they get they can 10x that deposit. So if you were to put in $1,400 here, if you were to put in $1,400, say you got paid and you put in $1,400 direct deposit, well, the bank can now 10x that loan and now it becomes $14,000. That $14,000 the bank now has, all they got to do is keep $1,400 of that on the books. They now have $12,600 that they can play with, and what do? They loan that out to other people, other individuals, other small businesses or large businesses, and they create a loan situation where they have to pay them back, and the dividends come back only to them. We don't get any part of that loan that they created, although they wouldn't have maybe been able to make the loan if we didn't put our money in there in the first place. So this makes sense as to why banks have the most luxurious and amazing buildings in the world. I mean, you can see two of them here in New York City and in Raleigh, North Carolina, the Bank of America. They basically, with every deposit, and when you have money sitting in there, they've already taken that money out, 10x'd it, and they're loaning out to a developer. This is why we have gentrification in our urban areas, because they're able to take the money that we put in there. We're funding our own gentrification, putting our money in the deposits. They take the money, 10x it. They hire another company, a developer, or someone else outside of our community, come in and set up. They give them the loan to build their homes or build their businesses, and we get pushed out. So this is how banks have been making money, and this is just how it's been designed from the gate. This is not new. This is how they were started, and it has an origin. And all this really is arbitrage. When you understand what arbitrage is, it's basically someone that's taking advantage about something to make a profit off of something that you yourself could do, but they won't tell you. So we don't understand that we can make money the same way they do, and in turn, what do they give us? We might get as much as a 2% on a savings account, right? But you have to have a certain amount that you have saved in there, and I'll talk about that in a second. That's the reward we get, is 2%, whereas they're making, 4 or 5 figure percentages on the deposits that we give them in addition to the loan that they have when they set up a loan with someone that has to pay them over years. So, you know, you've seen this, I'm sure, coming to you in the mail or email where people are telling you, hey, you know, you can get $500 right over here, right? Earn $500 cash quick. You like, that gets your attention, right? I want $500. But what do you got to do to get it? You got to deposit $50,000 or more within 10 days. They're giving you not only a crazy amount to deposit, but also giving you a short window to do it, right? Makes you think you got to really act now, right? So when you deposit $50,000 in, they 10x that $50,000 to $500,000. And all they got to do is keep $50,000 on the books. So they got $450,000 free dollars off the book that they can now loan out to anyone. And when you look at the history of banking, people of color and people of African descent in the United States are the last to get the least opportunities. We get charged the highest interest rate, and we get the less loan acceptances merely because of our complexion. But we're probably one of the ones that give the most money to banks because, you know, we have $1.4 trillion spending power. So we get that money, we get paid, we put it in the bank. The bank deposits it. We do pull it out and buy stuff with it, but once we deposit it, the bank takes that. They 10x it and do something with it to their advantage, and we don't get any piece of that. So here's just another, in return, we get a 2% annual percentage yield if we keep 10 grand in there. We have to keep $10,000 in there just to get 2%. Okay, that's the reward. We've seen this too. You've seen this in your mail. They're targeting us. Look at this. They're targeting black people. They're telling you, look, earn $500. You see that? Oh, word, $500. I can get that. $300 if I open up a checking account. $200 if I open up a savings account. Well, what happens when you open up that savings account? You got to deposit $20,000. It says here. You have to put in $20,000 to get just $200. So if you're that desperate to get, I mean, really, you have to be. It's an asinine mentality to think you're doing this to get $200 when you got to deposit $20,000, right? So you deposit $20,000. The bank 10x's that $20,000. They keep $20,000 off on the books. They got $180,000 they can loan out and make money, setting up accounts of people that will have to pay them over time in interest, in addition to principal, but most of it is going towards interest over years. This is the way the whole banking system is set up. So it naturally made me want to understand, well, how much money do banks really have? You know, so I looked up the largest banks in the United States, and JP Morgan is the largest with $2.6 trillion in assets, $32.5 billion in income, 16,000 ATMs, because every ATM, you know, some ATMs are 25 cents, some ATMs are $3 in the airport. People are making money off of ATMs. You have Bank of America is following Citigroup, Wells Fargo, and naturally I want to say, well, how are black banks doing, right? We don't even crack the top 1,000. There's over 6,000 banks. We don't even crack the top 1,000. We only have 2 that are above $500,000. I mean, $500 million. Okay, with One United and Liberty Bank. And this is not to say that, oh, we should move our monies over to support black banks, because black banks do the same thing as the white banks. They take our money, 10x it, loan it out to other people. We don't get a percentage. That's my biggest thing, is why are we getting a percentage of the loan that we helped create in the first place? But again, because we don't see the books, and there's actually been people, there's been politicians. There was a politician in Mount Vernon last year that got arrested for wanting to see the books at Chase Manhattan Bank. They won't allow us to see these books, to see whatever they're else investing in, right? So it brings me to the question, what have they been investing in? They've been investing in slavery, obviously. They have a history of that. And we talk about all the banks that we have out here, Rothschild's Bank, Browns and Brothers, the private bank, Barclays. These are companies we don't even know. We can't have access to their ledgers, so we don't know what they're investing in. Are they investing in Ebola viruses? Are they investing in gentrification? Are they investing in other things that are hurting us as they invested in slavery? So we don't know where these monies are going, and we are helping keeping them in business by putting our money in their vaults. So naturally, the question is, well, do I need to put them in there? That's a very good question. That's why I cover in my course. But let me tell you this real quickly. It starts with emancipation. This is, again, since the inception of this country, more so after we were emancipated. When we were emancipated in 1863, we were supposed to be given 40 acres and a mule, right? Abraham Lincoln. Well, he was assassinated, and when he was replaced by Andrew Johnson nixed that bill, and instead they gave us a bank. The bank they gave us was called Freeman Savings Bank in 1865. It was created in New York City and moved to D.C. So for 9 years, this was the only bank, excuse me, in America that people of African descent in the United States, freed slaves, could send their money to. There was only one bank for us. So if you lived in Idaho and you had money, you had to send it to New York, right? So this money amassed over 9 years, $75 million, which today is roughly under $1 billion in today's dollars. And this money that was amassed in this bank, it was managed by white folk. They didn't hire any black people, even though it was black people that were funding the bank. Freedmen, again, for freedmen, right? But the money that they gave the loans out to were everybody but us. They had a strict policy not to give any loans to black people, even though it was black people that were putting the money in the bank to be able to loan out in the first place, right? So after a series of bad loans, the bank lost more than half of the $75 million and actually broke down in 1874. They shut down, and the federal government held no one accountable. So they took away $75 million worth in assets from African American people that put away for their life savings, and they didn't have to pay it back, and no one was held accountable. So when we look at the history of banking, we've never been treated right. In 1863, before we were emancipated, we had 0.5% of the nation's wealth. Okay, today we only upgraded to 0.5%. We only have 1% of the nation's wealth. That's crazy. It's 2020, and we've, again, with a $1.4 trillion purchasing power, but we have no ownership power. And that's the reason why they keep us this way. We create all these things, but we don't own any of it, right? So today, we are denied more mortgage rates at double the whites. Our bank loans are out of money. We deposit to others. It's the same as we do the Freedmen's Bank. And the more of us that are unbanked and underbanked, and any people don't even want to know about money, don't want to deal with money. It's inherited intergenerationally. That's why we continue to get screwed, because we don't spend time in understanding what money is. All the while realizing that we pay higher in interest and mortgage rates and loans and fees and services. And when there's a crisis, we get hit the hardest. We get hit the hardest. But it's because we don't plan. Right? Here's the stat I found, that a white person with a mortgage rate of 3.75, if he have a 740 credit score, a black person with the same credit score will get a mortgage percentage rate of 4.25. That's 0.5% difference. But when you think about that, that's $30,000 more that we got to pay on a loan, based upon complexion. And also because we're going to them to give us money opposed to creating our own wealth. Okay? The history of wealth, when you think about it, and remember I talked about how after the recession, we dropped down from, $13,000 to $5,600, $5,677. Well, 2019, our wealth is even lower. We're at $3,600 a median family brings in a year. Okay? White folks, on the other hand, have gone up from $113,000 to $147,000 average family a year. The average household brings in $147,000 a year. And it's because they're doing something different. They're diversifying. They know how to understand money. They're studying it. They know what to do with it. And the reason why this is relevant is because if you sign up to be in a rat race, there's no sideline. You're not a spectator. You're either scoring or you're getting scored on. And we have been getting blown out, as you can tell. We've been getting blown out. Okay? So we're going to always need this system. And no matter how much education you have, these institutions will not teach you how to manage money. And if they did, they'd be rendered powerless, jeopardizing their bottom line, how to make money off your ignorance. So how do we win? All right? So we haven't been taught how to manage money. And because of that, we don't even want to deal with it. None of us don't even want to look at our checkbooks. We don't even want to check it out because it's just crazy, right? We don't want to deal. We just want to pay the man and keep it moving. But we don't know how deep in debt we might be in if we're in debt. And I work to help you find out how you are. I'm going to help you break this chain, the cyclical history of being ignorant about finances, to create a system where we could actually create intergenerational wealth, living off and becoming our own bank, so to speak, and not having to live off the traditional methods that we've been using that's shown to have not proven, not just for black people, for people in general. There is no savings nest egg that's going to be there, especially not in the amount that you hope it is, and you're going to still have to live. So how do we deal with that? So I'm going to ask for your permission now to share something that's going to take me 10 minutes to get to this, and then I'm done. Okay, I know I've been on for a long time. I appreciate you still hanging on. I hope that what I've told you, I know it was a lot, and again, this is recorded, so I'll send you the link so you can watch it again at your leisure, take your time with it. But I want to give you this information because I don't know if I'll ever see you again, and I'd rather plant that seed and hope that you take something with it to help it grow. If you want to help it grow, I'm here to help you water it and make it into something very beautiful. But I'm hoping that you allow me these 10 next minutes to just talk to you about this opportunity that I have that I'd like to share with you, okay? So here's the real deal. If you're like me, you're here because you want more, you want financial security. and you want reliable and a sustainable savings plan, right? Personally, what I've gone through, and now it's been 9 months, I need to update this, but I've gone from living off savings and investments, from being fired. I cleared off $20,000 in debt and increased my credit limit to now $45,000 in 8 months. I raised my credit score more than 200 points, lowered my credit utilization down from 80% to now 20%, is 15, was 15, now 20. I positioned myself to participate in business ventures that we often dream of. I have a company that I created in Costa Rica. It's a renewable company. I'm actually being able to think about living outside of this country, beyond these borders that we put, you know, the 9 dots, playing outside the playing field, that traditional playing field that we've been told, doing things that are bigger. And I'm sharing this with our people specifically and exclusively because no one else will, okay? Or not enough of us will. I won't say I'm the only one. So what I created was a 6-hour course called the Cryptowoke Financial Sustainability Movement's Master Online Course. It's a 2-part session. It's two segments to it. There's a self-paced segment where you can take your time, go at your pace. And then I also have a 6-session where we go over 3 weeks, 2 days a week, 1 hour at a time, a 6-hour course where we go through the entire platform of how to put yourself in position. And what I cover are these 5 models: assessing debt, leverage credit, eliminate debt, intergenerational wealth plan, and communal cooperatives. Just to give you a synopsis view of it, to assess debt, what we have was called a financial endurance number, where you have a monthly amount of money that you spend every month. We don't know what that number is. A lot of people don't know what number that is. They might have a ballpark number, but we don't truly know what that number is. And because of that, we don't even know if the job we have allows us to pay for it or cover it, right? So a lot of us are in a position where we're in the red because we do have a job that covers it, but we have expenditures that we necessarily don't have to have, and we haven't itemized them. I'll show you how to do that and figure out if what you have is enough and what you need to do to have enough. The fallacy of credit cards: a lot of people are afraid to touch credit cards. They have an emergency credit card. They have it sitting in their drawer. They only use it for emergencies. But I can show you how you can actually use it as leverage to actually create power. Okay. Also, I do eliminate debt. I show you how you can eliminate your debt by basically expediting debts that you have, paying it off sooner without getting a second job. And the sooner you pay off that loan, the sooner you can get them off your back and them getting free money from you in interest. Then I have the intergenerational wealth model. This shows you how you can create intergenerational wealth so it surpasses not only you, and you can also use it in your lifetime, but it also allows you to create wealth for your children's up to 70 years ahead, which is what a lot of other rich families do. They think 70 years in advance. Okay. And the last one is the communal cooperatives. I like to put this imagery here of an oven with 8 eyes. I was trying to find one with 16. But bottom line is, if you have someone on the oven cooking, then you know you always got something to eat from. You always got a resource. You know you got a pot that you can pull something and sustain yourself off of. So with this, as they say with the African proverb of, you know, sticks in the bundle are unbreakable, when you start to do things from a collective perspective, instead of me trying to buy 1 house or 2 houses on the block, if I can get 4 or 5 other people, we can buy the whole block. If we got 20 people, we can buy the whole city. In fact, we can go ahead and create our own city. You know, look at what Akon is doing. We can do these things. We have access to it if we understand the importance of using financial literacy as the foundation to even think on that level. It's one thing to think about it. It's another thing to be able to do it and attain it. Okay, and I can show you how. So all of these together, total value is about $1,200. But you know, that's not what I'm charging. Just to put that out there. But I will tell you that it would be worth $1,200 to learn how to access and schedule an expedited timeline to pay off your debts while at the same time increase your credit profile to create leverage. I would think so. Would it be worth that much to learn how to use the monetary system in a way that rewards you instead of the usual nickel and dime tactics commercially offered using traditional saving models? I know I use a lot of words, right? Then I know that, you know, it might be worth it as well, I believe, to be in a position to fire your boss and truly live the life you were born to live instead of waiting for D-Day. Are you the ant or grasshopper? Because winter is coming. We will have to retire one day, and we'll need to have something in place to take care of ourselves. If we don't have that in place, we're going to be in a bad situation, right? We don't have to be that now. We've heard about it. You know, now we're not going to be shocked. It's going to happen if we don't plan. And realistically, I think it's worth it if you would realistically define and create your legacy, being able to financially create sustainability of wealth for not just you, but your bloodline. I was trying to find black hands but couldn't find one. But, you know, we need to think about intergenerationally. We didn't have anything really given to us from our great-greats, but we could be in a position to do it for our great-greats. You know what I'm saying? So I offer step-by-step coaching. If you follow, I'm 100% committed. This is a movement. It's a family. When you join, this is about you being part of something that is, you know, as long as you want to do the work and follow the guidelines, you know, we're going to make this thing happen. I've been working with people for a long time, and the people that I've had work with me, they've all seen these type of results. So my whole thing is if you stick to the plan, you're going to see the results. And all I'm doing is what I've been taught. So I didn't make this up. I'm following the same model that these rich folks have done, and they've created sustainability. So I'm doing the same thing. It doesn't matter what color you are. It matters about the information and how you execute it. So what you'll also get in joining the Cryptowoke sustainability movement is that you'll get an online course, the workbook, coaching group thread, communal cooperative threads, and this all comes out to about $3 grand. But I'm giving it to you for $395. Now you're thinking, well, why are they doing it for $395? Number one, because I'm not trying to be all in your pockets. Number two, I don't want to take something and have you pay all this money for it and you don't even understand how it works, right? My whole thing is about walking you through it. I'm not going to be the guy that says, here's your stuff, good luck. You know, I'm accessible to you. I want to see you grow because in the end, here is the biggest thing I want us all to be at. I want us to be at this position so that we can start doing things collectively if we want to. Even if you don't want to do that point, I would still work with you to get you sustainable, because when you're sustainable, then you don't have to worry about things like that's happening now with the market. You don't have to worry about people that are losing. You know your money's not in the 401k, and you know your money is safe where you put it. On top of the fact you've also got other types of assets in case something happens with digital money. You know, because it all is digital now. It's not cash. It's all digital. So I can show you how to do that. But for $395, I will show you how to, you know, all these tactics that I've been speaking about. Again, my mission is to get 300 families to be sustainable, and then after that, to move that sustainability onto larger projects so we can do things for the community. So again, there's 2 sessions. There's a 6 1-hour session over 3 weeks. I meet Mondays and Thursdays, 9 to 10. I record it, so if you can't make it, the link is sent to you. And then there's also the self-paced course where you can go at your own leisure, your own pace, go through the course, and when you're done, after each session, I have a one-on-one where I'll basically help set up a customized plan to help you get out of your debt and create financial sustainability. If you were to be interested in joining the course, there's 2 ways you could pay. You could pay through Cash App, which would be straight $395. I'm actually also accepting partial payment of $250 to start, but if you're taking the self-paced course, you have to pay that all up in front because you have access to all of the modules. If you want to do PayPal, you can PayPal, but I add in the 3% transaction fee, which brings it to $408. I'll send you all that information and all that so you'll know exactly what it is and the amount. What you'll learn is how to manage your finances, timeline the end of your debt, take advantages of investments with excess cash without taking on a new job, become financially sustainable, and even fire your own boss before they let you go. 5th point is you'll be able to live off your savings and investments, and you'll be able to create intergenerational wealth. And the 7th point is you'll be able to create become part of the Cryptowoke financial sustainability movement. This is a family. Again, this is not something that we just do and then I'm done with you, right? So here's the thing. Option 1 is you could do nothing. You could be like, yeah, that was good information. You talked a long time. I learned some things, but I'm just going to pass on this, and that's the price of procrastination. You'll be in the same situation you're in. I'm not saying that it's a bad situation, but if it's not a solution-oriented situation, you're going to be in the same situation. The other option is you can make a one-time payment of $395, which basically comes out to $14 a day to take the course. We spend that much going to the club, washing our car, doing our nails, whatever. We spend that much Sunday tithe. It's just a small-time investment for a lifelong set of skills that could be passed on intergenerationally. The third option is 2 payments. If you want to do the 2-payment deal, it's $250 up front, and then it's $395 at the middle of the course. Again, that's about $15 a day. And again, this can help you put you on a path of financial sustainability. So this is how you can enroll. And I believe it's time for us to do something different, because if we know what we're getting, we understand the situation we're in. I kind of laid some things out about finances, where we put our money, how unsafe it is. I go into great detail about it in the course. And then I also create an in-depth plan on how you can move those monies into a place that will then be there more suitable and actually create a yield for you much higher than you would if you keep them in the traditional savings platforms. Okay, just a little plug too. I got a book coming out that is talking about intergenerational wealth planning. It's called A Pot to Piss In. That'll be out early next month. And I look forward to getting you Cryptowoke. So what I would like to do now is open up the floor to any questions or concerns. I'm going over to my Q&A. I don't see anything there yet, but also I can go into the I'll do a start Q&A. The Q&A is started. If anybody has any questions or concerns or anything of that nature, anything that you want me to address, feel free. Or you can also text it here. I'm looking at both of them. I prefer you put it in the Q&A so it's in one place. But feel free to stick in something. And just give me 1 second because my computer's about to shut down, so I need to go get my power cord. And while I'm doing that, it's going to take me 2 seconds. It's for you to go ahead. If you got any questions, just put them in there. I'll be right back. 3 seconds. Okay, I'm back. I'll just plug this in. Okay, I'm back. Let's see if there's any questions here. Okay. So Brother Eric asked the question, does the course entail using whole life insurance? Absolutely it does. Yes, we do. We talk about that. And what's good is I've been noticing, I love the fact that that we're starting to wake up, because I've actually been finding out that there's been a few more people that have been talking about whole life insurance. And that's very important because, you know, we were the generation of getting insurance in the first place. You know, if you were born in the 70s and 80s, we're just now starting to get into the life insurance game. But even in the life insurance game, there's things that they wish we don't know. And there's another aspect with whole life insurance that opens the door for you to do some things that that they would wish you wouldn't be able to do. But it's all legal. It's all legal. So yes, that is part of it. I go into depth about that, and we also have some other trinkets that I've learned that you can use to create intergenerational wealth. Yes. Any other questions? Concerns, beefs, you know, anything that you know that you might have that you want to share with, that's perfectly fine to go ahead and do it. And if you want to keep it to yourself, or if you want to inbox me directly, you can. I don't want to keep everybody online. I do want to be respectful for people's time. I know I've already talked longer than I said I would, and I'm thankful again for you to be calling in and staying in this long. But if there are no other questions, then what I can do is follow up with you. I will follow up with each of you individually with an email, and preferably, if you can, we can even have a phone call if you want to learn anything more about it. But in the, okay, here's a question. How does your course differ from other Afrocentric courses? Well, I don't know of any other Afrocentric courses, and this isn't really an Afrocentric course. It's actually a course that is catered towards people of African descent. Now, what I mean by African descent is you could even consider yourself not African, but if you colored, like if you got pigmentation, melanin, it's for you. I'm not going to be talking about how you have to, you know, be Ifa or you know, be into Kemet or anything like that. This is about people in general. I don't care what denomination. You could be Christian, you could be, you know, Jehovah's Witness. We still have money issues, and as a collective, as you know, when I see it, the way I see it is, you know, white folks don't care what type of black we are. We're just black. And that's what I'm dealing with. You know, they don't care if you are a Christian or if you're a Jew. You know, they see you as black. And that's the way my approach to this whole thing is. I'm not bringing any religion. I'm not bringing any politics or anything to make people feel like they need to join a cult or a spiritual denomination to participate in this. This is strictly about financial literacy for black people. And that's the thing that I want. I'm not looking to divide us, I'm looking to unite us. So this is not, as far as the difference, I can't really speak on because I haven't really taken any other Afrocentric courses, but I can assure you that I'm not going to be promoting anything Afrocentric or African-centered. I will speak about historically how we've been dealt with as African people, and what I mean African people is people of African descent. Not saying if you don't decide to see yourself as African, then I'll say black. But again, I'm dealing with people, information that pertains to black people, and how we can take this information and use it to get ourselves out of a situation that we've been inherently in, that has been systemically put in place. And what's refreshing is for me to realize that we don't have to be, and we don't have to be in the situation we're in. Before all of this, before I knew about all this, I thought this is the best it could be. It couldn't, you know, I just got to put it in the 401k because that's all there is, or I got to buy a CD even though the returns are as dismal as they are. And let me share one thing with bonds, because I just saw today that they've lowered the interest rate on bonds as well. Is that I bought a bond in 2009. I bought a bond, and in 2009, yeah. So I bought a $100 bond. It was just simple, you know. So I said, let me just put a little bit of money away in a bond. And I said, you know, because I don't know much about it, so I figured, you know, everybody else is doing it, so let me do it. So, and when I got fired in 2017, I went to go and check to see how much that bond was, because I was liquidating. I was going into my 401k and all this other stuff. So I said, well, I got this bond. Let me see how much it's worth. And I went to the bank to get the value of that bond, two $50 bonds, $100 total. And in 9 years, it only accrued the value of $1.60. So, you know, the teller who told me the value, she was like looking at me like lucky she was behind a stained glass window or a bulletproof window, as though I was going to do something. I laughed because I'm like, wow, $1.60 is really interesting. 9 years, and that's all the value is accrued, and it didn't even mature yet. It needs another 9 years to mature. So this is the thing that I'm saying, is that the traditional saving models that we've been given, put your money in a CD, put your money in a savings bond, put your money in a 401k, an IRA. Look at the annual percentage gains that people get, and then also counter that with the percentage losses. Because annually you lose as much as you gain, if not more. So in the end, you know, you're thinking you're going to get this much of a yield, when in actuality you get this much of a yield. And on top of that, there are people that have made this much based upon managing, because you have to pay a service fee. When you have to pay a service fee for your account to be managed, they get that money regardless if it's a loss or not. You're going to pay 2% or 3% to that manager, Fidelity or whoever else, consistently. Whether the market goes up or down, they're still pulling out their percentage. So you're losing money thinking it's going to be there, and because they tell you, well, don't touch it, it's a long term, because I saw all the newscasts telling you, don't pull them out of your 401k, leave it there, stay in for the long haul, this is temporary, it'll pass. Yeah, but if it passes, if I can give the analogy of someone that's running a lap. If you're running a lap like a track meet, if you're running a lap and you start out running 100 meters in a race, right? So you're running other people. So you're in a race and you start out running 100 meters, and then you get backtracked and have to go back 50 meters, right? The people that were running 100 meters that didn't have to go back, they're still getting ahead of you, right? So you lost 50 meters. You get to start again. So now you pick it up, you run another 200 meters, but then you got to come back another 50 meters. The other team is still running. They're way ahead of you. And this is where you're supposed to be. But because you keep having these backtracks or these losses, you're losing money. And then at the end of the race, when the other team crosses the line at this specific time, then you finally cross the line. This much is what you lost because you had to get backtracked. You should be here and you got here. And that space here never gets replenished. Somebody else got that money. And these are these companies that got the money. So why do we have to play that game? I don't have to play that race. A lot of us thought this is the only race that we can play. And that's the problem. There are other races that we can run. Much better races and safer races. So here's another question. Give thanks. We as people definitely need this information. I teach financial literacy to young brothers in my Jegna program. No doubt, brother. Big up, salute for that. And I'm glad you used the word Jegna, because Jegna is a word that we need to start using. I'm not even going to get into it. We know about mentor, but we'll talk about it another time. But big ups on that, brother. I'm with you on thinking outside the box, bro. How are you on blockchain? I do, so I know I'm pretty vetted in blockchain. I know about blockchain technology. I've been studying it since 2015. I've invested in currency. I'm doing nothing with it right now, mainly because it's producing nothing. When it's worth my attention, I'll give it attention. Blockchain technology, and that's cryptocurrency, right? But blockchain technology is a whole other thing. It's a platform. But even that's being delayed because the government is trying to regulate it and control it. So it's good to know about it. That's going to be a part of our immediate future, I think, possibly. Maybe not in America, though. America may be last if they adopt it at all. It'll probably be definitely in other countries. There are actually some places that are also just blockchain currency-based countries already in place. So again, think outside the box. Do business outside of the country. You know, even consider, if not doing business outside of the country, and they do use blockchain technology. So I'm pretty vetted in it. I definitely think that it's an interesting thing that we should know about and have an opportunity to move in. But as far as investments, I'm pausing on that right now. I've personally invested enough that I'm waiting for a return. And when I see a return, then I'll consider doing something else with it. But as of now, I'm good where I'm at. Yeah. Any other questions? Any concerns? Any beefs? Any, you know, how do you guys feel? Like, do you feel like this is something that is worth exploring? I know, again, I threw a lot at you, and I do it because I don't know if I have another opportunity to speak with you. So I want to leave you with something. I want to plant as many seeds as possible. And if you do feel that it is worth watering, then let me know. I would love to help you to keep it and flourish into something. Give thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Great information, brother. Respect. Thank you. And same to you all. I appreciate it. It resonates. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. And, you know, the more of us that know about it, the better in the situation that we'll be in. So if there are not any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. And I will follow up with each of you. Again, I thank you so much for your time. I thank you for your patience. I thank you for your ears. Hopefully you wrote some notes down, got some information. I'll send you the link so that you can watch this again at your leisure. I'll have it up for at least 3 weeks, so I won't keep it up forever. But you'll have time to go through and dissect it. If any of this resonates with you, please let me know. I start the course at any time based on demand. Even if it's one-to-ones, I do that as well. So I just got finished doing another course on Thursday. I can start another one as early as this Thursday or even Monday. Just let me know what you want to do, and if you're ready to get Cryptowoke, I will definitely be obliged and happy to help you do that. All right. So if there's any no more questions or concerns or comments, give thanks for your time, and I hope to speak to you soon. All right. All right. Bless.